5 seconds. Cue titles on 3. Cue music.
And hello, welcome to episode number 2 of John Coombs Online with a bit of drawing online. Hello to a truly international live stream here. People last week tuned in from all over the world. Well, maybe not all over the world, but certainly a few places. So we'll say hello. If I start to scratch, it's because I cut the hedge this week, and it's a beast, it's a monster. It's not an ordinary hedge. It's not like just sort of 10 feet of privet at the front of the house. It's a monstrous 40 metres of beech hedge, about 3 metres tall, and you've really got to get in amongst it with the hedge trimmers and the big shears and the chainsaw and all this sort of good stuff. And about halfway down, there must have been something nasty lurking in there, which came out and bit me all over my arms and legs, and quite horrible. So please excuse me if I'm itching at all. Shouldn't be, but it may be. It's been terrible all day. So I don't know if we've got any comments anywhere. We're having trouble playing this video back, it says, on YouTube. I don't know if it's gone down on YouTube. That'd be a shame. Seems to have gone down on Facebook as well. And let's just see if we can't check that again and play again. Let's see. Yeah, well, no, I seem to be there. I don't know. Please put a comment, and we'll see if I can see the comments. Where are the comments? I don't know. How does all this work? Ravi, tell me, how does this work? Oh my goodness! Well, we might get round to drawing at some point this evening. So, oh, hello, that's gone as well. Yeah, oh dear. I've never been the best technical person, as you know. Oh, Rachel's watching there. Hi, Rachel. Tim, Daphne, good. Hello, Greg. Thank you, Monty. Good for calling in. My runners have just come in to say that everything seems to be working fine, and that's good. There seems to be, on my machines, a few pauses and things like that. So thank you there, Hannah and Jacob. So, to recap, last week we talked about the idea of looking so that we can see something. We look and look, and we don't, most of the time we just recognise things. As I said, we recognise a bus, so we don't get run over by it. But we can't draw it because we don't actually see the bus. We don't see the details. We just see the big red thing with the wheels and the dangerous bit. And I was listening to or watching a programme on the BBC iPlayer about Beethoven, being Beethoven, and a double bassist there said that one of the first things they were taught is how to hear. She said most of the time we just listen, but we don't hear. And I thought, it's the same with drawing. We look, but we don't see. So we're going to be drawing some eyes today, some of the day's eyes. The day's eyes, which are daisies. That's what we're going to be drawing today, a couple of daisies. And I also want to just say a little word about sketching. I've mentioned sketchbooks. I'm going to be drawing in a sketchbook here. I don't like sketchbook. I like drawing book. I don't like the word sketch. To me, it's hurried. A quick sketch. People talk about a quick sketch, and there's no such thing. You've got to spend the time looking and looking until you can see. So the idea of sketching is a sort of, there it is, marvellous. I don't like that. So it's a drawing book, but most people call it sketchbook, so we'll do that. So I don't know if we've still got any connections across there. My Facebook page seems to have seized up, which is a shame, but we've got some more comments coming in. Kerry, hello, in Wales. We're going international. We've got Kerry in Wales watching, and oh, here we go. Maybe there are some more comments there. I don't know. This live business, I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So we've got some people tuning in Bavaria. So for the hallo Bavaria, heute Abend werde ich ein paar Blumen zeichnen. Hoffe es gefällt euch. Gänseblümchen im Besonderen. And possibly we might have some people from France who are watching. So ce soir je vais dessiner des fleurs. J'espère que c'est bon. Marguerite en particulier. I think, I don't know, but so let's maybe start with the drawing. As I've said, we're going to be looking at these daisies and we're going to be drawing on here. So let's start off as we mean to go on and start to draw two daisies. So we've got two I've found I've done this as well somewhere. Hang on a minute there. What do you think of that? Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls of the world. So we've got two of the centres of the daisies, which are, it's a sort of an angle there. And they're not complete, it's not a complete circle. I'll do a circle to start with, but it's not, obviously it's not a circle, because the daisy on this side, I can't point to it, look, because it goes beyond. And it's not a live camera to the daisy, so you can't see that either. But it's not straight on. That one's pointing that way a bit, that one's pointing that way a bit. So they're sort of related there. And we've got some of the petals coming up here. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the tops of daisies are ever so slightly serrated. It's beautiful. Little serrated petals, and each petal, now we know when we're drawing flowers when we're younger, we just draw the petals pretty much all the same, don't we? But like everything else in this world, not all petals are the same. So we'll just do that. And then down here, we can see the sort of serrated edge of the petal. And we've got this, it's only very, very short, this one. It's not, you know, again, when you're drawing a flower, you sort of make all the petals the same distance, but then the same distance away from the centre, but they're not. And we'll just start to cut into this circle a little bit. And another one, and now, here we've got a petal that's just going over the top of the other petal there, and then there's a very, very close one, and then there's one that comes out here, and then we've got this rogue one, this breakaway, this it's lower than that, it's on almost a level with that. We've got this breakaway petal here, which is coming across like that with a bit of shadow coming in there and a bit of a broken end on that. Looks more like a rugby ball at the moment. And back to those, and then those around there, and then another one coming out over there, a smaller one there. The petals come round the top here, ready to break into halfway along these. There's a petal there, and you can't see it because it's over the drawing, over the photograph. And then, oh dear, oh dear. I forget everything now. I don't know what's happening here, but I forgot the music. So here's some music to draw daisies by from that wonderful composer, Ian Sanderson. And we'll carry on drawing the flowers, the petals on this side. Now, Ian's brother is a photographer. Sandy, wonderful photographer, doesn't just go around with a digital camera, goes around with, you know, he's almost a wet colloidal, he's almost got, well, he has got glass, he has got plates and things. I'm sure he takes photographs on paper, he takes photographs on film, I'm sure he takes photographs on glass. However, that's not the point. The point is that like a photograph, a drawing, you don't start at the top and complete it and work all the way down. I always make the analogy, it's a bit like a photograph coming up in a plate. Now, I've been doing a fair bit of detail here just because I've been talking about the details we're doing. But basically, you should be bringing all the elements of the drawing up at the same time. There's another flower coming in there. So I make the analogy that it's like a photograph, Sandy, coming up on a page, in a developing tray. The drawing coming up on the page as if it's a photograph being developed in the developing tray. Now, all these petals come from a sort of center point of the center of the flower, from where comes the stem. And if you look at it from the side, you can see the way everything sort of grows up out. So all these leaves all these petals should have a sort of central access point in here. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of drawing now, and that's the highest point, but it's about level with that. These two are, you see, you keep coming back to different parts. And what we've got, when one bit goes over another bit, you can draw that bit a bit darker. And there's another over there. There we go. We've got a couple of rogue petals down here, which is great. You know, where would we be without these rogue petals? You know, where would Star Wars be without Rogue One? He says in a very obscure analogy, but they're wonderful. They make the drawing happen because you know, everybody can draw. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people can draw, you know, just a sort of a round bit with petals coming off it. But these ones underneath, my notable assistant has just come in there and suggested that we're not seeing that thing. Thank you, Hannah, that's great. You weren't seeing what I was drawing. Mind you, that's all part of the mystery, isn't it, to a certain extent there. So we like all these bits of sort of broken daisy in particular. Very, very helpful. And lines going over, and then this one actually comes from this flower over the top of this one. Now, Daphne, I hope by now you're suitably impressed and you think that the magic is underway. It is, to a certain extent, happening before your very eyes. Smoke and mirrors. I'm going to do some magic later on. Not some magic, I'm going to show you some illusions. Just to sort of show you how bizarre this whole business of us seeing, not seeing really is. The jaggedy end again there of a leaf, of a petal, another petal going over there to the side. And what do you think? Should I be the next Bob Ross? What's going on? My day's eyes don't look at the daisies, says Ravi. Don't look at the daisies. Yes, they were called day's eyes because they come out in the day. Apparently, that's why they were called that. So, now there's a big gap. Again, there are big gaps. There's a big gap there where there aren't any flowers. And there's darkness behind it. So, there we go. Let's just come across here. Now, I'm going to pause for a moment there. I shall pause for a moment because I've got to look at some comments and say hi to people. Not the next Bob Ross, no. Okay, I won't do the hair. I won't do the hair. The magic will be coming. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you. I'm going to move the drawing book, and I'm going to show you what some of the problems that we face. Some of the problems we face, like with a double-decker bus. Now there are two tables there, as you can see, two refectory tables. A long refectory table, so that all the monks can sit down here. Maybe the head monk sits up here, or maybe it's a nunnery. The head nun, the abbotess, whatever, sits there. And this one's more communal, isn't it? They sort of sit round. Maybe a couple can sit here, a couple of monks here, a few nuns there, that sort of thing. So two refectory tables, and we'll put a tablecloth. We'll put a tablecloth on one, and that makes it look nice, doesn't it? But then we'll just see what can happen if we take that tablecloth and put it over that table. It fits exactly. My word, you see? Your eyes treat widths differently from how they treat top and bottom heights. I don't know. Maybe this is. I mean, why? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's something to do with coming down from the trees, looking up and down trees. I don't know, but we always misjudge the relationship between depth and width. So that's one trick. That's why it's difficult sometimes to draw, because what you see is not what you've got. Another one that I did earlier here. Two fellas in a continuing the cloistered feel here of the monastery, perhaps. If you were to draw this, unless you were very careful, you would draw this fella far too big. We know that what we've got here, we've got a human figure. By the look of it, it's got a beard, it's got two eyes, a nose, it's got its arms and legs and all this sort of good stuff. And then behind it, there's another figure following on. And we know that this is another figure as well. And the proportion of the head to the body suggests it's another adult. But if you were to draw this, you would draw it too big, because if we just move this to here, you'll see how tiny that figure is in the background. In the background, he's there, and he looks. Our eyes naturally make him bigger, because we know he is basically the same size as this figure. But as you can see there, he really isn't, is he? So those are my two tricks today. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe next week we'll have some more tricks. I don't know. Now then, let's see if we've got any more comments. I've got lots of comments here, but I can't see them all. Rachel's commenting away there, saying, oh dear. Rachel. Oh God. Well, she's a doctor of things, geological, paleontology, old things. And she's my dear niece Rachel is talking about nomadic people don't have the same. They don't. No. You see, because it took us a long time to work out what a photograph was, how to recognize how to recognize the features flat. And there is a story about a photographer who made a quick buck during the Crimean War. Photography had just come out, and in the Crimean War, lots of families were saying goodbye to their sons. And in those days, people didn't have quite as such a Catholic eclectic wardrobe as today. They basically wore brown or tweed or grey. They wore a flat hat type thing and a jacket and a collarless shirt, maybe a bit of a scarf. They didn't have the vast wardrobes we did, so they all wore very, very similar. So this photographer took a photograph of one man with a flat hat, a grey jacket and a white shirt. And photographs in those days weren't as they didn't have, it didn't have 106 million pixel cameras. They just had they just had photographs, the cameras that Sandy uses today. And he took this photograph, and then he went down the street selling it to every family, saying, here's a photograph of your son. And the parents went, oh God, yeah, that's Boris, that's Fred, that's John, thank you, fantastic. Because they hadn't learned to interpret a two-dimensional image. They just saw the bigger picture, if you like, the hat, the moustache maybe. Everybody had moustaches. Everybody had moustaches, everybody wore hats. That's how it went in the 19th century. So, and they put the photograph on the mantelpiece. And, you know, Master Johnny went off to the Crimea War. But then maybe Mrs. Miggins from next door came over for some tea and looked on the mantelpiece and said, why have you got a picture of our Paul on your mantelpiece? And the woman said, don't be ridiculous, that's our Johnny. I mean, who knows what happened there. But anyway, don't know where I was, so let's go back to some drawing and a bit of music and see how we're doing with the cameras. With the cameras? Oh, we'll use this one. We'll just go with that one to start with for a bit, and then we'll put up the drawing that. I can hear the running of tiny feet to say, put the drawing up in the corner. Yes, they want the drawing up in the top corner. There you are. There you are, everyone. Now, last week we had somebody I hadn't seen for years and years and years. A friend in Cape Town, Duke. Hello, if you're hello if you're watching down there, Mr. Duke down there in Cape Town. Sorry I didn't say hello last week. I did see you were there. So we get, yes, with people watching from French people in Italy, French people in English people in France, French people in France, English people in in Cape Town. Wonderful. A good way to catch up with friends. German people in Germany, Bavarian people in Bavaria. Bavaria is like Yorkshire, very big, Bund, and that's where part of my family is. Now, the middle of the thing is all made up of these tiny little bit, and I'm not going to draw every one, but as we come down off the edge of that, we get these little pockets of little corners of blackness which help us define the beginning and end of these and then there's a couple coming out here a bit lower, one underneath that, the rogue petals. Now if you want a line to come forwards above another line, you make it a bit harder. The lines at the back should be dark. I've made this one quite heavy because I've been going over there, but these now are starting to catch that. As I say, the lighting in here is not brilliant. It's a bit of all over the place because of the lighting for the cameras. But we've got actually these two are actually in shade, and the bottom of that one is, and it's determining where the light falls. These are in the light. There's a little rogue one there, and there's a wonderful big rogue one there. So this one's in the shadow as well. And then there's a top of one there, which you can hardly see at all. It's a full-blown leaf. Oh, no, there's a bigger one behind it. And that one's in shade there. That one's coming off down there. That one's bending over a bit there. And then we've got, it's quite dark coming in there. Pen and ink is great. You know, pencil, people always say, you know, you must never use a rubber and all that sort of good stuff. But, you know, rubbers are great. Rubbers you can use actually as complete tools in their own right. You can put text tone on with a pencil or graphite, and then did that go over the top or underneath? And then take it off with the rubber, and that's a wonderful thing. That's overlapping that. That's a one coming in there. That's coming in there. So, but pen and ink, you've only got, you know, you've got absolute black. Now that's where we come to what I've spoken to a lot about, the cross-hatching nature, the business. Now we've sort of basically got most things happening here. A little bit going there, a little bit under there, and they're in the shade of those top ones. This one's also in shade. That one behind it is. There's a little one behind there. There's a big gap there. And there's quite a big space there. This one will be in the shadow until we get to the top. This one coming out is, that one's got a bit of it in the shadow. Then now, when you're in amongst all the petals, it's trying to remember where you are, what's happening. So we're going to do good old-fashioned cross-hatching here and here. And there's a bit of shape coming around there. And that gives us a sort of sense. And then I'd put in a few dots, things. Dots are always good. Put a few dots around the place. It sort of makes it all go. So we're sort of getting there. There's a bit more work to do. But I have got, let's just pause that for a moment. I have got some I did earlier. This is pen and ink again, much quicker for daisies or margaritas there, with an ink wash background. And then a sunflower, which is not a daisy, obviously, but very similar, but pointy petals most of the time, ink and wash, and using a method of transferring old paperback print using gesso onto the page. And then there's another one, very much like this margarita with the rogue petal on the top, on the right there. Colour does help for sure, and putting the darkness in amongst it is clearly a good thing. Cross hatching, you can do all sorts of things with cross hatching, and in different ways to make the area go from light to dark. Basically, it's a way of going from light to dark, from black to white. You can do it in an orderly fashion. You can do it in a haphazard fashion. Lots of different ways there. So just to say hello to people, if there's some more people tuning in, let's just see. I've got this. I'm going to have to get to the bottom of all this. Comments business on Facebook. I can't seem to get it there. It seems to have frozen in a grotesque manner on that one. But let's just see what's happening there. It said I should view the comments, but I can't. Maybe I can see it. Oh, hello, now. Maybe, there we go. All right, everyone's talking to everybody, which is great. Anybody I haven't said hello to yet? No, that's all good. Amanda in France, hello. Then Joe in France as well. Joe, who Joe would make this place look much better. He's a phenomenal lighting designer, Joe Atkins, over in living in France now. And I've just blatted this out, Joe. I've got to get the paper quite white. I've got to get me looking not too pink. And look, here we've got some drawings again this time. Yeah, I can't, how do we do this? There we go, that way. Here we go with some daisies that they've been drawing, which is wonderful. Thank you very much, Hannah and Jacob. Yes, Joe, I want shadow in the background. I want it to be dark and moody with me lit in the foreground. I'm sure we can do that. All I've got at the moment is, oh look, I'm going to do something silly now. All I've got are these great big sort of soft lights heading up towards the ceiling to give a bit of a giveaway on the JC Online there. There, that isn't pinned to the wall. It's pinned to the picture. Anyway, let's just finish off this drawing for today. We've been on for long enough, and let's just see where we go from there. We'll put a little bit of a sense of the vase in, and then therefore the stems, which come from the middle here and come out that way. So you've got this sense of it leading into there, and that one leading into there, dark and thicker there, and going over there. So there they are, and that's dark in there. I think that's about it. We need to just get two more into here, there and there. That one is dark. We need to get that a bit darker there. What we've got to do now is try and get the bright petals shining by bringing down the tone of the other petals, so that the bright petals can shine out. And what I might do in a time like this is put a bit of, there's nothing else there, is there? A little bit like that. Put a bit of white onto this. I might put a whole lot of darkness behind, to help throw out and the more you look at this, you realize actually in here there are two bright bits of white. There are two bright bits of white. If you just look at this, we could maybe find those. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can get. Now these are great, these pens. So there's actually a little bit of white there, a little bit of white there. And now we really are into the whole Bob Ross territory as we come on to the white. And I mean, and the paper itself isn't white, so this is just an experiment. This is just to see how it goes. I'm not suggesting this is how things might be, but we could end up. We could go the whole 9 yards, ladies and gentlemen. We could go with these dumping out. We could start to hit the old colours in there as well. You see, and you know, never not do all this. They've got this sort of green then comes up into there and comes in the back. And that, again, what you're trying to do is put the give it some depth. And that one's a bit brighter than that one, so maybe there's some of that there. Anyway, listen, that's about it, I think. If we've got an orange there, we've got an orange. That, I think, is it for today. Thank you, Ian, for the music. Thank you all. Thank you all for watching from all over. It was a pleasure. It's been 35 minutes, which is about long enough, I think, before we need to go for a drink. And oh my God, there's more magic, says Daphne. Yeah. Actually, it's not. It's quite terrifying showing that picture of the daisies, showing the actual daisies while I'm drawing it, because you can go, oh, he's not drawing that very well, is he? He's missed that bit there. Because you don't always draw it exactly like this. Mr. and Mrs. Daisy out in the garden might not recognise their two little daisies. Portraits take a lot longer to do. So next week we can talk about lions creeping up on us. We can talk about what things were like when we came down out of the trees, and possibly some more optical illusions, and of course some drawing. Send in a comment if there's something you want me to draw, and other than that, I will see you next week. Bye bye.